jury has been deliberating in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. In less than 13 hours, they reached a verdict on 4 of 5 counts. But a judge told them to keep going on the other count, which is racketeering. So their deliberations resume tomorrow. Fox 7's Susan Hirasuna here to break it all down. We'll see how eager they are to get away for the July 4th holiday.
Exactly, and that always is quite an influence, is it not? All right, Sean Diddy Combs blew a kiss to his 6 adult children before he left the courtroom. His mother whispered something to him, and he was heard to say, "I'll be all right, love you." At least one more day before the music mogul hears his fate. The jury unanimously decided on 4 of the 5 counts against him. After weeks of salacious testimony, a New York jury might be hung on the most serious charge against him, racketeering. Now, to prove racketeering, the jury must unanimously agree Combs participated in a criminal enterprise, committing at least 2 crimes over 10 years. The defense admitted Combs is violent but innocent because the star witnesses in the case, Cassie Ventura and another woman who used the name Jane, they were willing participants. Local defense attorney Dimitri Gorin says the federal prosecutors never should have charged Combs with racketeering.
It's not an Epstein kind of situation because nobody's underage. It's not a Harvey Weinstein kind of situation because these aren't forcible rape cases. It's really a kind of a sex, I would say, party situation where people are being brought in. Everybody's consenting. People are getting paid. And while some people may find these sex parties to be distasteful, it doesn't have the ring of RICO. It doesn't have the ring of rape.
The 55-year-old Combs did not testify in his trial. In fact, the defense rested in less than 30 minutes and did not call any witnesses. Now, if Diddy is found guilty on all counts, he faces 15 years to life in prison. If the jury still cannot come to a unanimous decision on that first count, it's up to the judge to declare the jury hung. The prosecution can then choose to retry the case or dismiss the racketeering charge and then seek a sentence based on the guilty verdicts, whatever they are. But right now, of course, all we know is that they have 4 verdicts, but we don't know which way that they decide.
And they could all be not guilty? They could all be guilty, or there could be some
right.
sort of combination of the two. I mean, he's saying that nothing was forced, but the prosecutors say Cassie and Jane were forced to be there.
Absolutely, and they were both domestic violence victims. And a lot of times when you talk to people who know about domestic violence, they say that oftentimes the victim gets to the point where they are just trying to appease, they're trying to please whomever it is, in this case a boyfriend, and to keep them satisfied, to keep them from beating on them again or taking out any kind of bad behavior.
And whether the jury believes that or the other could be the key to this case.
But so interesting, don't you think, that the defense did very little. I mean, they countered a lot that the prosecution put on the stand, the witnesses, but they had no witnesses of their own.
They saying it's on them. They've got the burden, and they didn't meet the burden, so let's get out while we're ahead was sort of the defense argument there. Thank you, Susan. So jury deliberations pick up tomorrow morning. Short time ago, I spoke with TMZ's Harvey Levin about all this. TMZ's Harvey Levin has been following this thing as close as anybody, doing daily shows on Tubi about it, all over TMZ, TMZ Live. He joins us now. Harvey, we've been talking about this for a while. You've always said that racketeering would be the most complicated thing. Why is that?
Because, you know, a racketeer, you know, and I don't want to trivialize this, but people think of Tony Soprano and they think of the mafia, and it's organized crime. This feels like disorganized crime. This is this crazy guy who engages in all sorts of criminal activity, but it's not to further a particular, like, illegal business. It's, you know, I want to hire a prostitute here and I'm going to get this person because I'm mad at them here, and maybe blow up a car here because I'm mad at them dating somebody. But that's not what typical racketeering is. And I always thought this might be kind of square peg round hole for some of the jurors, and it feels like that's exactly what it is, because it's not just one holdout. They said the jury is split into 2 groups. I don't know what the breakdown is, whether it's 10-2, 6-6, whatever. But the jury said, we just can't reach a verdict. We're dug in. So we will see if the judge's gentle advice to continue makes a difference. My gut tells me they may well just hang on racketeering. But it's interesting, the other 4 counts, they reached within 2 days. That's a big deal.
How do you read into the other counts and the fact that there is agreement on those?
So here's the thing about that. The Mann Act, I think, is an easy one for prosecutors to prove.
And remind people what the Mann Act is.
Yeah, all that means is you take a sex worker and transport him across state lines for the purpose of prostitution, where they get paid. So we know some of these workers got paid. Sometimes Cassie paid them, but you know who was really paying them. You know they crossed state lines, and what the sex worker said was, "Oh no, I wasn't being paid for sex. I was being paid for time and discretion." Well, that's what a lot of prostitutes say. And I think juries read through that. So I think he's in trouble on those 2. As for sex trafficking, that is where Cassie and Jane were allegedly trafficked for sex using coercion, fraud, or force. And as to Cassie, there was a tea leaf that I read here, because yesterday the jury asked for a transcript of Cassie's testimony of when she flew back from Cannes to New York with Diddy. And that's where she says, he showed me a freak off with me on it and said, if you don't do a freak off with me when we get to New York, I'm going to show your mother this and I'm going to release it publicly. If the jury believes it, that's sex trafficking. As to Jane, I just don't know. I think she's more complicated. But I think on the 2 Mann Act charges and on sex trafficking with Cassie, I think he's in trouble. I just don't know about Jane.
So if he's guilty of all the rest of them and racketeering hangs, he's still in a lot of trouble in terms of time behind bars.
Years behind bars. If they hang on racketeering and they get him on 3 or 4 other counts, I don't think the prosecution is going to retry him on racketeering. Because it really is a sex trafficking case. And I just don't think they're going to. And that, in a sense, is, a win for Diddy. I know that sounds bizarre, but at least as to racketeering it is. But, he read the tea leaves in court, too. He was upset and looked at his family and said, I'm going to be okay. And I think I know what that means.
All right, Harvey Levin, continue to follow TMZ for all the latest on this on the website and all over the broadcasts and digital and everything else. I know you'll be on top of it when we may get a verdict tomorrow.
I think it's going to happen tomorrow. I really do. Whether they reach a verdict or they just say we are hopelessly deadlocked, juries don't like having it hang over their head for 4-day weekends or interrupting a 4-day weekend.
Yeah, and of course you can watch TMZ at 7:30 right here on Fox 11. Harvey, thanks so much.
Thanks, Alex.